as our local, our state chief minister is playing a role in that. But as far as federalism, the topic is concerned, I am, as a student of politics and law, I am more perplexed by the present, where basically imprisoned in their homes without any net, nothing really happened. So building a consensus is when a government at center, appreciates and understands the spirit of federalism. But if they are hell-bent on having one nation, one tax, one nation, one fertilizer, and not believing in diversity, and ensuring the states become subservient to them, then that is, I think we have a huge challenge in front of us.
Do you have any specific suggestions for building consensus?
The only thing politically I can say is that the states must come together, especially the states in the south must come together and protest and not get bogged down, because you see this is going to be a death knell for states if the government goes ahead with the Electricity Amendment Act, because my state, whether we like it or not, Telangana had more hand pump sets before the formation of Telangana. Now, if you have an Electricity Amendment Act, it's going to be a huge problem for us. So I think the politically, yes, we'll have to come together. And if you have an industry coming to Maharashtra, having one meeting, going to another state, these are huge problems which should be taken out, which should be taken on politically, and the states must come together. But unfortunately, you have more number of states which are ruled by BJP, and everyone is keeping quiet. But in the long run, this will definitely harm federalism. It will harm the constitution. It will harm the center and state relations.
Justice Chalaneshwar, you've heard.
Am I audible?
I think so.
This is the first statement that whether the judiciary will be able to protect or will it protect the federalism in this country, in my opinion, is an absurd statement. Federalism is a political arrangement. Judiciary is a part of a federal system. Now, the question of judiciary protecting or not protecting does not arise. If the political elements of the federation do not work out the federal system properly, no constitution, no judiciary, no judge can ever save it. Now, as regards the skepticism of Mr. Owaisi, well, of course, questions are always there in any democratic society. Questions are there, debate is inevitable, and no institution is perfect. Yes, but then to improve the situation, a constant debate is required, and a constant effort is required by all the stakeholders. And the greatest stakeholders in any democratic system are the people and their representatives, ultimately. In other words, the politicians. If they do not play their role the way they ought to play it, well, things start slipping away from their hands.
Mr. Isaac.
My column piece in Indian Express is about the freebies. Well, I think it is best left to be determined by the electorate. There is already a restriction how much freebies you can give. Freebies are all revenue expenditure, and the FRBM Act says you cannot spend your borrowed money on revenue expenditure. There is a serious constraint. But there's a sharp asymmetry between how center has approached freebies and states have. States have been very responsible. Say on eve of COVID, the states were surplus. Not only they eliminated the revenue deficit, they were surplus. While center no single year since the FRBM Act has been passed has eliminated revenue deficit. And why do they run revenue deficit? Because revenue is foregone to the corporates and rich, because they have chosen to reduce the corporate tax by 1.5 lakh crores rupees. They have chosen to write off. Of course, one is upset about the freebie to the farmers, but nobody is worried about freebies given to the corporates or 10 lakh crores rupees which have been waived off from the banks. So there is a big asymmetry between the center and state, and surprisingly, this freebies is now taken up by the center as a tool to browbeat the states who have been complying with it.
Mr. Gopal has been
good formulation from the Constituent Assembly. We just need to continue to work on strengthening democracy as the fundamental idea on which federalism is based.
But today it has come to such a situation that the center can make and unmake states. You have the experience of Kashmir, which a state has been disassembled. There was a rumor and also controversy whether something like that was going to be experimented in Tamil Nadu. Fortunately for the country, they didn't pursue it. Now what is the remedy? What is the constitutional remedy? The challengers come to the Supreme Court. In its wisdom, just not found enough time to look into it. And therefore, what is the constitutional solution for this challenge for the states?
No, I think that what happened in Kashmir is unconstitutional. It's illegal. That's my own view. And therefore, we cannot argue from an illegal act and then understand the Constitution from that point of view. After all, even in the United States, the United States Supreme Court has taken the view that you can have secession only by either revolution or a new constitution, but you can secede by consent. So all constitutional arrangements provide for some kind of rearrangement, if necessary, of the units that comprise it, except that it must be done. The question is who is doing it and how. So theoretically, our constitution says parliament composed of elected representatives from all the states, composed of an upper house, a council of states. If all the states together, by consent of the concerned state, with the full consent of the concerned state, in the interest of democracy and the interest of the people, want to reconfigure the states, then our constitution is providing the possibility for that. But certainly, even you use the word center, it's interesting. It's a new usage, it's an administrative usage, which has crept into the constitution. But the constitution only uses the word union. Whose union? Union of states. So if the union, the community of states come together, and in the interest of the concerned state, at its request, at its demand, with its consent, wants to rethink the status, then Constitution provides us the flexibility for that. But that Constitution, which is the soul of it, is democracy. Democracy means demos and kratos. Demos means common people. Kratos means power. So democracy does not mean simply election.
Question. You see, we know for a fact that federalism is a basic structure of our constitution. Now, if a cabinet secretary sitting in Delhi decides to impose a lockdown in the country, the states could have said nothing doing, we will not accept it, because law and order is a state issue. I, for one, in my state, I have written an article and I have publicly made a statement that the Telangana government should not have accepted this lockdown, because What would an officer sitting in Delhi know about what is happening in a district like Rangareddy or Nizamabad? You know, we allow them. We have allowed them to. You know, we accepted this lockdown. What can judiciary do in that? You know, why did we accept that lockdown? When it comes to GST, why did we accept GST? You know, we should have raised voices. Some few states had opposed it. There are numerous examples wherein the states have succumbed to the supreme leader. And the supreme leader wants to he wants to basically doesn't believe in diversity. So it is for the state governments also to stand up. Now, you know, there are so many instances we don't get share in cess. The 50,000 crores the states are being denied, but we are still begging with the government. And when the finance ministers asked the finance minister, she said it's an act of God. What can we do? So it is a responsibility of state governments to also be very firmly. And then the last point, we are not in 1950, you know, where the center had to be strong. We are now in 2022, wherein you know, the states must assert themselves, and the union government should, you know, allow the states to take care of health, education, agriculture, everything. Now, coming to the reservation point, I had opposed in Parliament, in fact, voted against this 10% reservation, this economic weaker section. You know, as far as I know, where is this question of economic weaker section? Where is it in Constitution? Please tell us. And the 50%, you don't want 50%, the limit is 50%. Within that 50%, you have this 10%. So what about the population which is socially, educationally backward? The reason I'm saying is that I can live without reservation as a Muslim community, but I cannot live with injustice. My backwardness is based on the empirical evidence, and it should be given to us. But even reservation has now become a political tool for everyone. You want to give it to Jats, you want to give it to Patels, you want to give it to Gujars. So this will definitely, this 10% will definitely have an impact on the federalism, and I must really thank the professor for making a stellar argument in the Supreme Court. You know, he made a fantastic argument, and I'm thankful to him for making those points and bringing it to the notice of the Honorable Supreme Court. Thankfully, let us hope that this constitutional bench will decide this matter. But it is unconstitutional to have reservation on economic grounds. This is my opinion.
Professor Gopal,
Poor people, that's the challenge. Now, on the issue of reservation, you have a polarization taking place on the caste basis. Now, that's not a winnable battle, in the sense you are pitting nearly half the population against the other half the population. Therefore, from the perspective of mobilizing the poor, irrespective of the caste also, in order to protect reservation itself, which is under severe challenge, that you provide weaker section among the forward caste also a small percentage, without affecting the existing quota for the weaker caste. So that this is an instrument to ensure the widest possible unity of the people. That's the political perspective from which I live.
thank you.
I think so. This relates to the topic which we are discussing. But you see, the Prime Minister wants to even release the cheetahs in a park. So, I cannot say more than that. Thank you.
Member of Parliament from Hyderabad.